Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Dr. Barkis Ophthalmology Tutorials. Today and in further few videos I will be discussing about the diseases of eyelids. Today we will start with inflammation of the eyelid. So without much delay we will go to the inflammation of the eyelid. So the inflammation of the eyelids can be broadly grouped into the blepharitis, parasitic infestations, molluscum infection, preseptal cellulitis and the allergic dermatitis. So we will discuss each one by one, followed by all your exam questions. So coming to blepharitis, it has some peculiar features like this is the most common cause of the ocular discomfort or the irritation or dryness which patient presents with, but we often don't look at this disease. The second is the symptoms and signs are not correlating with each other, so we may miss the diagnosis of blepharitis. And thirdly, the etiology and even the etiopathogenesis of the disease process is not very clear, so it is little difficult to manage blepharitis completely. So coming to etiopathogenesis of the staphylococcal blepharitis, it is due to abnormal cell-mediated immunity against the cell wall components of the Staphylococcus aureus, which leads to blepharitis as well as the conjunctival reactions and even the corneal infiltrate sometimes. It is most commonly associated with atopic. So let's move on to the classification. To know the classification better, you should have sound knowledge of the anatomy of the eyelid. So if you missed the video on the anatomy of the eyelid, please go to the description box and find the link. Okay, so the blepharitis is finally divided into the anterior blepharitis and the posterior blepharitis. So this is the gray line. So the eyelashes are anterior to it. So anything which is involving the base of the eyelashes or the eyelash per se are classified under the anterior blepharitis, and those which are involving the meibomian gland orifices, as you can see multiple orifices are there. So those which are involving the meibomian gland is classified into the posterior blepharitis. So in anterior blepharitis, again we have the staphylococcal blepharitis or ulcerative blepharitis, and one more is the squamous blepharitis or seborrheic blepharitis. Okay, so this is the classification. Anterior is classified again into the staphylococcal and the seborrheic. Posterior is nothing but meibomian gland dysfunction. So coming to etiopathogenesis of the staphylococcal blepharitis, it is due to abnormal cell-mediated immunity against the cell wall components of the Staphylococcus aureus, which leads to blepharitis as well as the conjunctival reactions and even the corneal infiltrate sometimes. It is most commonly associated with atopic. Now coming to the squamous blepharitis or the seborrheic blepharitis. It is usually associated with generalized seborrheic reaction or seborrheic dermatitis, which involves the scalp, the nasolabial fold, the back of the ear and even the sternum. So let's see how this posterior blepharitis occurs. So this is because of the bacterial lipases which are present at the lid margin, which will lead to formation of the free fatty acids, which again increases the melting point of the meibomian gland secretions. Thereby the secretions of the meibomian glands are pent up in those only. That will lead to the ocular surface irritation, as well as that will promote the growth of the Staphylococcus aureus there, and thirdly it will alter the tear film stability, because the meibomian gland secretion, which is the lipid component, that is the major component for the tear film, or that prevents the evaporation of the tear film, which is hampered here. Thereby there is early evaporation of the tear film, leading to tear film instability and the ocular surface irritation. So this is about the etiopathogenesis of Staphylococcus blepharitis, the squamous blepharitis as well as the... So these patients of blepharitis usually will have symptoms of irritation, foreign body sensation, grittiness, even the itching. There can be mild photophobia if the cornea is involved, and all these symptoms are worse in the morning hours. So moving on to the signs of blepharitis, coming to the first one, that is staphylococcal blepharitis or the ulcerative blepharitis. So here you can see there are some hard scales or crusting mainly around the eyelashes. See, these are forming a cylindrical shape like thing around the eyelashes. These cylindrical things are called as the collarettes. Okay, so when you try to remove these scales, they will leave behind the ulcer. As you can see in this side, there are some ulcers which are left behind at the eyelid margin. So hence it is also called as ulcerative blepharitis. So, and this is also one of the differentiating feature between the staphylococcal blepharitis from the other cases of eye diseases which have discharge. So if you wash discharge there, there is no underlying ulcer, but if you try to remove these scales with a forceps or manually, you will leave behind an ulcer over there. And there will be mild amount of conjunctival papillary reaction. In long standing cases, there can be scarring of the eyelids, There can be tylosis or the lid edema or the madarosis. See, you can see there is loss of eyelashes here, and the trichiasis, that is misdirected eyelashes. There can be even poliosis, that is whitening of the eyelashes. It can progress even to the involvement of the cornea, leading to keratitis in the form of punctate erosions. There can be vascularization of the cornea and even the infiltrates. So these are the signs which you observe in staphylococcal blepharitis. So moving on to next one, that is seborrheic or the squamous blepharitis. You can see there is yellow greasy scales here. So these will be sticky. Hence this is called as seborrheic also. So these are little difficult to remove. So may leave underlying lid as hyperemic. And there can be squamous blepharitis where there is white dandruff-like material over the eyelid margin, and they fall out very easily. Coming to posterior blepharitis, that is abnormal meibomian gland function. There is abnormal meibomian gland capping, as you can see here. The meibomian gland orifices are almost full. That is called as capping of orifices. And when you try to press this, there is pouting or the plugging of the meibomian gland orifices. Okay, and that you can appreciate here. There is pouting or the plugging of the meibomian gland orifices. And when you press over the eyelid margin, you will see some toothpaste like thing coming out from the meibomian gland. That is this meibomian gland secretion which is coming out. And if you do the transillumination test of the eyelid, you can see there is gland loss or the cystic dilatation of the meibomian glands. Because of all this, there will be unstable tear film, okay, leading to all the symptoms of your blepharitis. So coming to parasitic blepharitis, we have Demodex infestation and the Theriasias palpebrum infestation. Okay, coming to the Demodex infestation, this blepharitis is nothing but a reaction to the extremely common hair follicle and the sebaceous gland dwelling mite, that is Demodex. And it has two varieties, that is Demodex folliculorum longus, which will lead to anterior blepharitis, and the brevis, which will lead to posterior blepharitis. So these will also form cylindrical dandruff-like scaling around the eyelashes, which can be seen with the examination under slit lamp with almost +16 magnification. And the treatment of Demodex infestation is similar to the other blepharitis, may involve the manual removal of the collarettes or even the eyelashes sometime. So coming to Theriasias palpebrum, this is nothing but a crab louse, that is Theriasias pubis, which is adapted to living in the pubic hairs. But it is also commonly found in other hair covered body areas like chest, axilla and even the eyelids. Coming to the symptoms, is similar to the blepharitis like the chronic irritation, itching of the lids. On examination, you can find the lice which is almost anchored to the eyelashes. Coming to the treatment, it consists of mechanical removal of the lice and their attached lashes with a fine forceps, and if needed you can apply the mercuric oxide 1% or the petroleum jelly to the eyelashes and the lids twice a day for almost 10 days. And delousing the patient and the family members with the clothing and the bedding is very important in the prevention of the treatment. One thing you should remember is there is no standard protocol for the treatment of the blepharitis, and it is very difficult to treat the blepharitis completely, but we can still control the symptoms which patient presents with. So the first treatment option is the lid hygiene. Means first you should give the warm compresses, thereby you are smoothing the crusts which are present at the lid margin or the eyelashes. Thereby you can remove it easily, and then followed by the cleaning of the lid margin with the lukewarm water which is diluted with either the baby shampoo or the baking soda. Okay, so then you clean the eyelid margin, which should be done at least twice a day for almost 2 to 6 months depending upon the severity of the blepharitis, and that is followed by the application of the topical antibiotics which include the erythromycin or even the chloramphenicol eye ointment. Okay. The third option is systemic antibiotics. This will come when the disease is not controlled with your lid hygiene and the topical antibiotics, or it is present when patient is presenting only the disease is very severe. Then you start patient on oral doxycycline 50 to 100 milligram BD for 1 week, followed by OD for almost 6 to 24 weeks. Okay. You can also use tetracycline, which is more effective for the posterior blepharitis. And remember, it should not be used in case of children and the pregnant woman. Then going to one more antibiotic option for the treatment of blepharitis, that is azithromycin, which is given as 500 milligram per day, that is OD dosage for 3 days in 3 cycles with an interval of 1 week. Okay, this is about the systemic antibiotic usage. Coming to steroids, you can use very mild steroids like fluoromethalone or loteprednol to control the inflammatory component of the blepharitis. So you should always use the tear substitutes along with all these treatment options, because patient is always having the tear film instability. Because of that, the patient is having so much of symptoms. So control those with the tear substitutes. You can also use tea tree oil in case the patient is having atopic dermatitis. So this is about blepharitis, which included the classification of blepharitis, etiopathogenesis, symptoms, signs, and the treatment of blepharitis. Next, moving on to the molluscum infection of the eyelids. It is caused by group of large pox viruses. So patient usually presents with one or multiple swellings over the eyelid margin. So if you see these swellings, these are very small, maybe one or multiple, whitish in color, umbilicated lesions. Okay, so they contain the sebum inside those swellings. So coming to the treatment, you should incise those multiple small swellings, express the sebum and touch the interior part of that with the tincture iodine or the carbolic acid. Next, coming to preseptal cellulitis. Again, to understand the preseptal cellulitis, you should have good knowledge of the anatomy of the eyelids. Go back to my previous videos and see the anatomy of the eyelids. Okay, so by definition, the preseptal cellulitis is infection or the inflammation which is confined anterior to the septum of the eyelid. So coming to the cause of the preseptal cellulitis, it is usually secondary to the Staphylococcus aureus infection, which occurs following trauma, or even it can spread from the surrounding structures. So usually patients will present with painful swollen eyelids. Okay, and when you examine, there is tender, swollen, reddish eyelids, and the temperature of the eyelids is raised. And it is very important to differentiate this preseptal cellulitis from the orbital cellulitis, in which case the infection has spread beyond your orbital septum. But there the patient will have restricted ocular motility and even there will be mild amount of proptosis. This can be treated by using broad spectrum antibiotics like amoxicillin and also non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs to reduce the inflammation. Coming to the last topic, that is allergic dermatitis or contact dermatitis. It is usually secondary to the usage of the local eye drops or the topical eye drops, and even the cosmetics which are used for the eyes can lead to the allergic dermatitis. So patient will present with itching, there will be mild lid edema, and even there is conjunctival congestion. So always look at the cause which is leading to the allergy and try to avoid that allergy. Thereby you can treat this allergic dermatitis. So this covers all about your inflammations of the eyelid. If you found this video useful, please do subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for the further notification. Please like and share.